Most of us move through life with a quiet assumption that things begin and then they end. Careers, relationships, bodies, even meaning. It feels obvious, so obvious we never stop to look at it. But pause for a second, not to answer anything, just notice. If life truly starts and stops the way we think it does, why does it never actually feel like it's turning on or shutting off? Think about how often your attention is pulled toward endings, deadlines, aging, what's already slipping away. And now notice something else. While all that worry is happening, something in you keeps moving, uninterrupted, breath after breath, moment after moment. This isn't a video to watch while multitasking. Nothing here will reward speed. But if you stay, if you let the pace slow down a little, you may notice that one of the most basic assumptions you live by has been quietly shaping how tense, how urgent, how fragile life feels. And once you see that, it's hard to unsee. Let's look at how most of us make sense of a life. Not in theory, just in practice. How do you usually describe your own story? You talk about chapters: college, that first real job, the relationship that changed you, the one that ended badly, before kids, after kids. Even your body gets divided this way, young, in your prime, slowing down. Nothing about this feels strange. It feels organized, responsible, almost adult. So do resumes. So do conversations at dinner, back then. From now on. What's next? There's comfort in this map. It tells you where you are. It tells you what's over. It hints at what should come next. And when something ends, the mind likes the clarity. That part is done. Close the file. Move on. But notice something, gently. While these chapters are being named, while the story is being updated, what is it that's actually experiencing all of this? The excitement of starting, the disappointment of finishing, the fatigue halfway through. That part doesn't seem to restart with each chapter. It doesn't feel brand new on Monday morning or worn out just because a phase is labeled over. We rarely question this because the map works, it helps us function, it helps society run on time. Still, there's a quiet mismatch here. The structure makes sense, but the experience doesn't quite follow it. And it's worth staying with that difference a little longer. Here's a question that usually doesn't get asked. What does this way of seeing life quietly cost? Think about how endings are treated in everyday life. A job ends, and suddenly the years there feel sealed off. A relationship ends, and we talk as if something has died. A birthday passes, and a number starts to carry weight. Nothing dramatic is happening in those moments, yet something tightens. Deadlines feel heavier than they need to. Aging feels like a subtraction. Even rest can feel like falling behind. It's subtle. No one teaches this directly. It's absorbed. You can see it online. People rush to announce the next thing before the last one has settled. There's pressure to move on, quickly, cleanly. As if lingering means you've failed to manage your life well. And so attention shifts, less toward what is happening, more toward what's ending, or what must begin soon. This makes sense. If life is a series of boxes, then staying too long in any one of them feels risky. But notice the tension this creates. The present moment starts to feel temporary, even while you're standing in it. Nothing is wrong with planning. Nothing is wrong with marking time. Still, when life is mostly felt as something slipping forward, there's a quiet strain that never quite leaves. And that strain doesn't come from events themselves. It comes from how we've learned to hold them. We'll stay with that a little longer. Let's slow this down even more. Have you noticed how quickly the mind wants to understand things? You hear a sentence, you nod, you feel like you've got it. This happens all the time. You read about stress. You understand it. You read about burnout. You understand that too. But think about the last time you were actually exhausted. Not the idea of it. The moment your body just said, enough. No explanation was needed. No definition showed up. There was only sensation. The mind works with outlines, before, after, cause, effect. Experience doesn't bother with any of that. It's immediate, messy, unlabeled. We often confuse these two. We think understanding something means we've met it. But notice how different it feels to think about hunger versus feeling it in your stomach. One is tidy, the other doesn't fit in sentences. This matters more than it sounds, because when life is understood mostly through ideas, it becomes something you stand outside of, looking in. And there's a quiet distance in that. Not dramatic, just enough to miss something that's actually happening. We'll stay close to that difference for a bit. Here's something simple. Think about walking from your car to your front door. You've done it thousands of times. Do you notice when the walk begins? Not the thought of it, the actual moment. One foot moves, then the other, weight shifts, muscles adjust, balance keeps correcting itself. There isn't a clean starting line, no announcement, just movement already happening. If you try to name the exact second it began, the body doesn't cooperate. It's already mid-stride. The same thing happens when you stop. There's no sharp finish. The body slows, settles, keeps breathing, keeps sensing. The mind likes to say, I started walking, I arrived. But the body never experienced those words, only motion, pressure, contact. Something is quietly revealed there. Change doesn't arrive in pieces, it flows. And when you notice that, even briefly, the idea of beginnings and endings starts to feel a little less solid. Not wrong, just less central. Let's stay near that feeling. Now notice how this shows up beyond the body. Take an emotion, something ordinary, irritation, sadness, relief. We usually talk about it as if it arrives from nowhere. It hit me. I got over it. As soon as it passed. But when you pay closer attention, does it really behave like that? There's often a build, a tone, a tightening, a release. Sometimes it fades, sometimes it changes shape. The label comes after, the movement was already there. The same thing happens socially. You say, I'm in this phase of my career. Or, that part of my life is behind me. Those sentences sound clean, they help other people understand. They help you explain yourself. Yet inside, something keeps responding. Interest rises and falls, energy shifts, attention moves toward or away from things. It doesn't seem to check whether a chapter is open or closed. Even inwardly, there's motion. One thought loosens, another takes its place. Moods blend into each other without clear borders. Seen this way, what we call events start to look more like surface markers. Useful, necessary, but not quite where the real movement is happening. And once you notice that, it's hard not to wonder what you've been measuring life by. There's a moment that sometimes happens quietly. Not during a crisis, not during some big realization. It can happen while washing dishes, or driving home, or standing in line, doing nothing in particular. A familiar question shows up about time, about aging, about how long things last. And for once, it doesn't feel urgent. The mind still asks, but the question doesn't pull the same weight. It doesn't demand an answer right away. Something has shifted, not in what you think, but in how tightly you hold the question. You can feel it in the body, less bracing, less leaning forward. Birth and death don't disappear as ideas. They just stop being the center everything circles around. What's more noticeable is what's here now, moving, changing, not asking to be defined. And in that noticing, there's a strange relief. Not because something has been solved, but because something no longer needs to be. We won't rush past that. At some point, the need to explain softens. Not because the questions disappear, but because something else becomes more obvious. Life doesn't feel like a fragile object anymore. It feels more like movement, quiet, persistent, already underway. Forms still change, names still come and go, but they start to matter a little less than the noticing itself. Before you move on from this, try something small later today when something ends in an ordinary way. A conversation, a task, a thought. Pause for a breath. Notice what didn't end. Let that be enough for now. What do you find still moving?